If you no.
Now here you hear what you thunder. Now here I go again. See, thunder only happens. There. You
Welcome everyone to the Arthur's Quill. That was Lanny Gardner singing "Dreams." She does a damn good version of it. Actually, she's quite popular these days. That video is from a couple of years back, but I was impressed the first time I heard her because I was just cruising along looking for something and it came up, and I heard her sing another version of something else Stevie sings, and I said it was okay. And then I heard her sing this. I was like, "Son of a girl, she knocked this one out the park." Hey, well, it's nice to give them a hand. The music sounds good on the station, and you're giving people, some out there some airtime. And what's that, Christopher? Um, let me remember. So no, it's what is it? It's UFO Paranormal on Rumble. If that's where you're going, yeah, it's UFO Paranormal. Well, no, well, I don't blame you. Facebook can be a real, you know what, sometimes. It's they've been glitching over there a lot lately with the TV stuff. I don't know why. It's been some issue, not just for us, for everybody. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people about it. And you can watch this on Roku if you have Roku television at home, of course. John looks really good on Roku, sexy bastard that he is. Um, what's that? Korean? No, he's okay. Wait a minute. I should have never said that. Okay, no, he's married. Okay, I know his wife. She's a friend of mine. So no ideas. Um, well, I guess it's going to be you, Howie, eventually, and then I can't pronounce Alex's name. I'll have to have him
Alex
find me.
Schwartzman.
Schwartz. Wait a minute, not like.
Schwartzman.
Oh man, I can see this name's going to get me in trouble. Now I'm thinking about the Swartz, the Forst. Oh man, see, all right, that's not good for my.
Okay, Alex. Alex will be on after that.
Yes. What's that, Jack? So no, I don't know. There may be a time thing. Sometimes times get weird. You know, all of us are in different parts of the country. Sometimes in different parts of the world, just depending on where we are. Um, that was no, yeah, it's up. The news and flip side is up. You can go watch it from last night. You can listen to it. It was just Jay and I. Leah joined us late. Yeah, it was fun. That's all I'm going to say. Yes, that's all I'm going to say. Um, Mostly we do authors on here. Every now and then we'll bring on an illustrator because we have illustrator friends that are out there, and we bring them in to hang out with us and give them a plug and let them do. Matter of fact, a show in between John and ours. She's an illustrator, Echo Chernick.
Yeah,
You can go there and
Echo.
check her out.
I'll be seeing her in a few days. She'll be in Salt Lake City.
Damn, y'all lucky bastards. Oh, don't anybody. I know I said something about this. So the other night on a we did a Thursday, a little hour spot on Thursday, warming up for Friday. And I had mentioned one of my friends from Salt Lake City said, "You coming down?" I said, "No." And he's like, "Well," I said, I can't get away." I said, we're just busy enough that I can't leave. I said, there's just too many things we got to do. And he said, "Well, you can fly." I said, "Yeah, but see, to me, that kind of screws up the trip going to Salt Lake City. There's so much stuff to see between here and there. Like on the way back, we stopped at what is it, Devil's Edge, Devil Mountain, where Close Encounters of the Third Kind was filmed. You know, where they landed on top of the mountain. Yeah, no, you can stop there right there and see it. It's cool as hell. There's a lot of stuff along, but I will warn y'all, as a friendly warning. So when we left Utah this time, we decided we are going to go through Montana to get to Colorado. Bad idea. The ride is not terribly long, but there's nothing. There's nothing but weed and antelope. That's it. No, people, I'm not kidding y'all. I mean, there was like 2 hours. I didn't even see a gas station. I was like, oh my god. I thought Linda was jumping out the car, man. It was horrifying. It was because I bitch about tech crossing Texas all the time because Texas is like a day's drive, and sometimes in Texas there's stuff to see depending on which interstate you're on. But there was nothing. And we finally found some little town that had like 50 people. And I thank God, I was just glad they had what did they have? Kentucky Fried Chicken. I was like, really? Up here, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I got some chicken and all, but got some chicken and some gas. And then we drove straight down the middle of Colorado, just straight down the middle of it. Yeah, it was interesting. Ride. I like to explore. I do. I like to go places and see things. I've been on more Indian reservations most white people probably even know exist in this country. It's I enjoyed it, even though I got my butt scared once or twice. I still enjoyed it. Well, I mean, is there any states that doesn't? I guess some of the little states don't have reservations, but I mean, I would imagine the majority of bigger states have reservations. Even Louisiana and Mississippi have reservations. California does. Oregon, Washington do. Idaho does. Well, I don't know about Illinois. So I'm not an expert in Illinois, but Kansas does. Ohio does. New Mexico does. Arizona does. Texas does. I'm just saying, a good chunk of the states have reservations on.
Have you been to? I've been to the Blackfeet Reservation in Montana. There's that's where I went there, and there was an actual war bonnet that, based on the book Buckskin Brigades by Ron Hubbard. They presented a whole war bonnet and did a whole presentation with I don't know, about 15 chiefs and stuff. Did a whole presentation in honor of L. Ron Hubbard for what he did there with his book buckskin brigades, and that was pretty cool. There went there to the um, Browning, Montana, and stayed there for several days for the whole ceremony and stuff. It's a
That's
whole
cool.
different world. It's a different world.
Oh yeah, it's a whole different world. It definitely is a whole different world. Jaleese. I've been a few of them. What do you mean? When I said I was scared, real short story. We were driving up. I was lecturing in Utah, by the way, in the middle of the state. I can't remember the name of that place. Really pretty place. Shame on me for not remembering the name. But it was an outdoor lecture, by the way, which was fabulous. I had never done an outdoor lecture before, which was great, actually. But anyway, one of the reservations we stopped, I stopped at a Shell station to get gas. My friend Joe came along with me because, I decided to drive. I said, "You want to take a ride with me?" So I picked him up in Palestine, Texas, and then off we went. And so we're sitting there getting gas, and these three guys started looking at us and saying stuff about white boys, and they weren't black. Before anybody asked us, these were Native Indians, pure blood, I guess, as close as you can get. And they're just talking smack. We're on their land. I mean, honestly, we're inside the reservation now a good hour in, so it's not like we wanted to get in any trouble or anything. And they started talking smack. And I remember I was filling up the car, and Joe walks around, lifts up the side of my shirt, and pulls it and pushes it back because I carry a gun a lot of times. He's like, they're like, oh well, it was like, oh, they just went back and sat down in their little thing, went back to drinking their beers, and didn't say anything about us the rest of the time we were there. But I tell you what, I seen more when we went at that time. We saw there were deer everywhere, deer and rabbit. I mean, there were just rabbits everywhere. It's like a freak thing. We come up on top of a mountain. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. There's like a fog over the mountain. We hit the mountain, and there's 1,500 deer just standing there looking at us like, "Get off our mountain, ass!" I mean, really, they didn't even want to move for the car. Thank God I wasn't flying because it was foggy. Because we'd have either killed them or us. It's weird. Yeah. Well, flying's great too. I like to fly. Mm-hmm. Well, see, I used to go out before I met Johnny, and when I go out to LA a lot of times, I drive sometimes. But the LA drive is different because Interstate 10 has some good spots and some really boring spots. Interstate 20 is a little different. At least it's going through some mountains and stuff. It's a little bit different. You get to see the fireworm on Interstate 22. Oh, yeah. You have never seen the fireworm? Matter of fact, the best one I ever seen, I was leaving San Diego, headed for Las Vegas. And this thing had this stretch 30, 40 miles. Just a red line going all the way. Actually, red 3 lines going all the way through. It's the cars, people. It was great, though. Poor John lives in Los Angeles. No, he's out there in Hollywood, of all places. Putin said, by the way, just a warning to all my friends that live in Hollywood. Putin said he's coming for y'all. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but he said he was coming.
He's going for his career in movies. He did his show 20 years ago, so he wants to come. He was singing 20 years ago for Hollywood, so he wants another show.
Mm-hmm. What's that, Denise? My favorite author? I don't have one. It's like TV shows. I really don't have a favorite TV show. And I put this on authors on this show all the time, and most of them tell me the same thing. Yeah, well, what genre? Usually, if I ask them what TV show, what movie they like, they instantly say what genre. Because it's hard to pick just one overall. What was yours? Gone with the Wind. Hey, I know a lot of people who liked Gone with the Wind. Yeah, that's a classic. I never read it. I saw the movie. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. So if there's any difference, you'll have to tell me. If I told you what the favorite book I ever read was, you would just be like, "What?" No, really, you would be, because it's not fiction. Or, I mean, it's not fiction of any kind. It's no genres. I had the privilege of reading some of the special weapons manuals aboard the Nimitz, and I got to tell you, it's the most fascinating reading I've ever had in my entire life. I'm a geek at heart. I can't help it. I like to know how things work. Yeah, California wants people. They're losing people right now. So move your butt out there. Go out and go invade LA. Especially you, Clark. Take you and all your weirdo family. Y'all would fit right in. Look, no, y'all would fit right in out there. Yeah, I know. So y'all a bunch of potheads, so it's legal out there. You can just smoke your way to wherever. No, it's when I say it's legal out there, I mean it's legal. Like everybody smokes in the street. They smoke all over the place. You know what? I got to tell you, I was the only the whole time. I always hear all these horror stories about LA. I've been to LA like 10 times now, and really the only bad thing I've ever seen about it is right now because they smoke so much pot. If you walk 4 blocks in the same crowd, you're going to be high by the time you get to the other end of the street. Other than that, I didn't find it to be crime, and nobody tried to pickpocket me. Nobody tried to mess with me. I didn't even see a bunch of crackheads laying around on the street like I did in some of the rich neighborhoods, which was kind of funny. Oh
You
yeah,
see
there was.
it now. You see it now. It's
Is
pretty,
it's gotten worse? Nah.
yeah.
See, it's just sad. What do you mean, Gene? Well, well, no. You know, it's like what I do for a living. Um, Construction is feast and famine work. Sometimes I am making money like you're like Jesus. What? How much? And sometimes it's just not there to be made. Well, for artists, it's the same thing. That's why they always said starving artists. Sometimes artists have a hard time. You got to first you got to get known. You got to do something that gets somebody's attention, and even then doesn't mean you're going to get rich. It just means you got somebody's attention. You got to keep producing it. And it's like anything, including what I do now. You're only as good as your last thing. People only remember you for the last thing you did, and if you go too long in between projects, people tend to forget. Yeah, not if you're like a Spielberg or Gene Rodney. No, nobody's going to forget them. They could go 10, 20 years without doing something. That's not the same thing because they have epics and they have more than one of them.
Oh, one thing that's interesting. I just had Mark Scott Zickery as a guest. That's the podcast that just went up last night, and I interviewed him last week, and he did I read his book on Rod Serling on the Twilight Zone. And that was an amazingly interesting story because on that one there, Rod Serling went and created Twilight Zone because he was the hottest screenwriter in Hollywood at the time, but he couldn't get his documentary and stories on politics, on race, on religion. None of that stuff he could get aired because the censors would block it all.
Oh yeah.
So he used science fiction and fantasy as a tool to be able to get his messages out there by putting it into these really odd, you've watched Twilight Zone, and he wrote like between 89% of all the episodes. It was a weekly episode, and it was just from what Mark was saying, like what he did and what he did to create it, not dissimilar to like all the greats, like Elon Musk creating up his companies. He put everything into it, and he was like up until the last minute, he wasn't, and then he was. It was like he'd do these different shows and he presents them, and then he'd get somebody would support him, but then somebody else would shoot it down. And then he finally made it to network with one of his shows, and they said, "No, this won't work." So instead of having a tantrum, he went home and just wrote a whole new script. So he was writing scripts a week, one a week for this series, and it was his idea. These quirky little endings that it's not sure which way did it end. He had those funny twists that he do in all of his shows, and that one of his first shows that was there was How to Serve Man. That was funny. That was that episode. It was these aliens coming, and so they found this, this book, and they translated. It was like How to Serve Man. And I thought, okay, good. These people were coming. They were helping people and how to do this stuff. And at the end, it was a recipe book, And so these people, they take him back to the planet. They're basically food, and that's the very end of it, where you finally get what How to Serve Man.
Yes.
But
they did lots of tweets like that. They did. They did the one where the aliens came back to Earth and The aliens were saying they were disappointed, man, and UN got together and got this big thing together and united the planet. Everybody got together and was peaceful. Until they presented it to the aliens, and aliens said the same. What we wanted, we sent you here to be a warring world. We wanted to see who was the toughest race on the planet. That's who was going to get to survive. He said, but you said since you did this, you're all going to die. And he just wiped, just whoom, everybody was gone. I was like, oh, that was not nice, alien people. Well, Pete, you never know what aliens are going to. We don't.
Yeah, it's like you take a look at humans. When we go into an area, we're not concerned about the indigenous life. I mean, we got a long history of that. That's the whole thing right now. Of everybody's trying to make peace with Native Americans. Up until 20, 30 years ago, they were Indians, but now they're Native Americans. Blacks that had all kinds of names, but now they're, yellow people. You can't call them all these different things you can't do anymore as things become politically correct. But the whole track of humanity is that. And you even take a look right now going into another, when you develop an area, indigenous life forms, maybe not people, but like the plants and the animals, they get wiped out for the sake of people, moving in there. You go down to another area, it's like, sorry, gentrification, all that stuff that's that mentality.
Yeah, we'll never even know how many drugs we probably wiped out in the Amazon, logging and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Carly, a lot of drugs come from plants. Matter of fact, a good chunk of them come from. There are synthetics, but there are a lot that come from plants. Almost all the pain meds, dude. Just
that's your Afghanistan line. That's why there's so much attention on keeping those lines, the relationships strong. That's where all the poppies come from there.
Oh, Diane, I don't know the name of the movie. I know what you're talking about. What's his name? He played. The Highlander guy. No, wait, no. What is
Sean
his
Connery?
name? No, not. Yeah, Sean Connery. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, he played a scientist in the Amazon, and he found a cure for cancer through ants eating sugar or something. I forgot what it was. But that's what they're talking about. The village was being wiped out as they were finding it. I barely remember. It was an old movie. It's got to be 25 years old at least.
Well, that's really old.
I mean, compared to today. What's it? What do you mean? What's the oldest movie I've watched? I've watched probably starting movies. I guess I'd have to say I've seen movies from. Yeah, I've watched all kind of weird stuff. Well, black and whites did. Black and white when I was a kid, that wasn't a big deal. They were talkies. The ones before that were not. They were black and white, and you couldn't have. There was no audio with them.
Yeah, the Buster Keaton movies and stuff.
Yeah. I went back and watched all that, including the early what was it, Buck Rogers movies and stuff like that, TV shows. Well, Buck Rogers back in the 20s and 30s.
My favorite movie for decades was White Christmas. That was filmed in 1954 with, just amazing.
It's a good movie. It still holds up today. What do you mean for? What the hell are you talking about? What's my favorite presidential movie? What? I have no idea what you're looking for there. Not even a clue. No. I don't think I like any movies that involves presidential whining and moaning and crap. I'm just not gonna lie about it. Not even the ones where like the movie Air Force One. Even that's kind of sucked. Oh, okay. Wait. I do have a favorite presidential movie, and it's Escape from New York. That's the one. When the president gets shot down by that, there we go. That you said presidential movie. He's the president.
Who's the guy that had the eye patch on that went and saved him? That was
Kurt Russell, right? It was Kurt Russell? Yeah, I think it was Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I remember the first movie I ever saw him in was Robinson Crusoe. It was a Disney film. He was like 7 years old. He starred in that, and or Swiss Family Robinson. That's what it was. He starred in that one there.
Well, Jack, we see my watching stuff goes way back, and it's modern and goes back. It's a lot of stuff I like on air today. I don't get to watch that much TV to start off with, so let's just get that out the way. So usually, good friends of mine will refer stuff to me, and I'll go check it out because it saves me time. No, most people know my taste, and especially when it comes to sci-fi and stuff like that, and fantasy and stuff. As far as documentaries and stuff, that's just stuff I catch when I got time. Yeah, I'm a geek. I keep telling you. People tell me all the time, "No, you're not." No, yeah, yes, I am. I like stuff like that. I can. It drives. Well, it drives people I know crazy. I'll sit there and watch 3, 4 documentaries in a row. I find it fascinating. I like good movies too, but my version of good movies is not always what other people's. So if it's just nothing but smash them up, blow them up in TNA, nah, I'm just don't waste my time. And don't ask me what TNA is. If you don't know what TNA is, go look it up. Okay, I'm just telling you, it's not that kind of show. Um, no, it's boring. I need substance. I need what was that? Play it again, Sam. Casablanca. Sorry, I couldn't get it out of my head. I have never seen the movie start to finish. Never. I've seen the beginning. I've seen the end. I've seen
He
the
he
middle.
didn't say play it, and she didn't say play it again, Sam, either. What the actual
See,
line was just play it, Sam. There's
they
no
see
no
they.
again there. So there you
Or it
go.
just got hybrided out after that. You see how to see people? We talk about that all the time. How stuff happens. Well, things get changed all the time. It's going to get worse with AI. Oh, yes, it is. But I think if Congress stays true to what they said, and they're going to make AI have to be tagged, so that everybody knows it's AI, then I think then I think you'll see things change. Yeah. Well, then they'll actually be able to sell the damn stuff. Right now, they can't even sell it. Why do you think they give it away free on the internet? And there's also another reason they give it away free on the internet. I shouldn't tell y'all this, people, because y'all are dumb. But the AI programs they give you are linked to the home database. The reason they give them to y'all is for the experience. Each human using one is a new experience for the AI, the head AI, the main AI. It's a new experience for it. And it helps it to grow and to understand and how to adjust and make things look more realistic. Well, no, the hands and feet still look squirrely on AI. And yeah, if it's like big area, you can tell. AI also has a hard time adjusting. So the analysis I did for the Miami PD and on the one in Miami was, well, they said they seen this giant alien running around the building outside. Then they said they saw it inside. So first off, the AI made it like a bundle of, I don't know, I can't even use the language, but it was just like a bundle. It was kind of blurry. But what's worse than that is the AI forgot about its surroundings. So everything on the top balcony was normal. So you're seeing people like talking to their kids. Matter of fact, this one woman's handing their kid something to snack on. Some other two ladies are just walking. There's 8 or 9 people. They're just milling around. Okay. There's a 12-foot alien running through the mall with people screaming. You're not going to just be standing there milling around. Half of them are going to be up there with their phone going. The other half are going to be freaking out, screaming themselves. But there was none of that going on. Plus, the people on the ground weren't screaming or panicking. Come on. You got a 12-foot alien in the middle of your mall, and you're not going to even know. It was just, and then the analysis on the outside one, when it was outside, it was a pretty good image. Whoever did the outside one, but you could still look. It looked like it took it by like this on a hand and just pulled it outward. There was no. There was just. It'll get there. I mean, eventually. But the problem is it has to use everyone's material, and that's the main reason it can't be. It's the main reason it can't be copyrighted is because it's pulling from every database in the world. So all this material it's using is probably copyrighted, so they can't really copyright it. It's a good thing because if not, they'd be screwing people over left and right. What's that? Yeah, David. GalaxyPress.com. Yeah, all the rules, all the regulations are over there. Yes, they are. Yeah, that's what a free course is. No, it's free. You can go
That's
take it.
writersofthefuture.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, writersofthefuture.com has the, you said Galaxy Press.
Oh, did I? Shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, writersofthefuture.com has the free online workshop. It has the podcast is on there. You've got we got blogs, writer blogs, illustrator blogs. We've got the rules and the entry portals for the writers contest and the illustrator contest. And by the way, you can get your entries in for both the writer and illustrator contest, which is free by the midnight at the end of this month. This is the end of the 41st year, almost. So
Get it
year
in.
41 is over then September 30th at midnight. Pacific time.
Get it in, people. You
Yeah.
can get there for this year if you get it in.
Yeah, it's free to enter, and it's open to amateur short writers and artists, and 3 pieces of illustration or one story up to 17,000 words.
No, Jamie, I was having a Freudian slip, wanting y'all to go over to Galaxy Press and buy something. So it's just a Freudian thing. Just calm down.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely go to Galaxy Press if you want to buy, and we'd love it if you buy.
yeah, go
But
buy something. Y'all need to go buy me something. I need something new. Oh man, where's my shirt? Y'all lucky it's not back here. I was going to show you a shirt John sent me. It's in the front. I may have to go get it when we get to the top of the hour and take a break. What? If you're a legit author, not some bullshit author. No. If you're somebody who's trying and got something behind you, yeah, we're willing to bring you on. Jack. I don't even know how you. I'm not even going to say what that looks like. Anyway, if you've got some books, send them. Send me a link, and I'll look at them, and then I will get with Carmen, who helps me book on the thing, and I'll. If you're legit, I'll get you slid in somewhere in between the ones we're doing. Yeah. But look, like John just said, if you're under 17,000 words, you should, maybe submit one to them.
yeah, speculative fiction, so science fiction, fantasy, alternate history, dark fantasy, that type of stuff, and what it is.
No fantasies about Kamala Harris. Thank you very much. We don't do that kind of stuff here.
Okay, we'll keep it on the straight and narrow here, Joe. Last night was your night.
Oh, man. No, I'm just saying, no fantasies, no dark fantasies about Kamala. That's all I was saying. I'm just trying to keep people's
No,
brains
you're just trying to stir things up.
She's my favorite person. I think she's anyway. Oh God. Where'd that question go? Oh, I gotta scroll back down. Hold on. Sorry guys. I was y'all just chit chatting down there and it makes the thing move. The screen. Teresa, what do you got here, Teresa? What do you mean? What does it take to be a good author? From what I've talked to all these authors, a good imagination and hard work. That's what I would tell you.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. Even some of the best authors, they throw in, I've heard between 500,000 and 1,000,000 words. Just throw away your first 500,000 words. You need to write and write and write and write in order to build your own voice. But you're going to start off emulating, trying to copy my favorite author. I like Brandon Sanderson. Several of the big authors who try to copy L. Ron Hubbard, like from Battlefield Earth, on how he does his action sequences to be able to build up how to do really like action sequences that like make your heart go fast. That's a really good thing when an author can do that. So you have to write and write and write, and then what we do also, there's no problem with submitting a story as you're learning the craft, and you can monitor yourself too as you're growing. Like you might start off, you get an email from the contest saying, "Thank you very much, submit again," and then you submit some more, and then you get a certificate saying, "Great, you've got an honorable mention." That puts you in the top 10%. And then you go from there and you get silver honorable mention. Then you become a finalist. And then as a finalist or semi-finalist and a finalist, and then you can be a winner from there. And some people go up to 40 plus times of submitting before they actually achieve it. Some people like Kevin Anderson and Rob Sawyer and Brandon Sanderson entered, and then they pro'd out, meaning they sold professionally so that they no longer qualified to enter the contest. That can happen too, but there's no problem with that. So, but the main thing is it gives you a reason to write. You can submit to the contest. And that's one of the things that Kevin Anderson, who right now is one of the most popular science fiction writers out there, he said, I liked it because it forced me to make a deadline. And being able to write to a deadline helped him a lot for all of his future career as a writer. And he became a go-to guy. So he did a lot of stuff with Star Wars and with several other series where they contact him and say, "Look, can you do this?" And he'd say, "Yes, I will do it." So he would he'd write his specifications by a deadline, and he'd keep that deadline. He said that was one of the things he got from Rise of the Future, is being able to do that. Made a big difference. But that's part of what, when Owen Hubbard created the contest, that's what he was going for. He himself would be sent it. I got this cover image. I need a story for that from like Astounding or whatever. And so he began it, and he'd be given a few days. Okay, I'll send it to you. Here you go. So he was able to write that kind of material, and he was one of the most prolific and one of the most popular writers of pulp fiction in the 30s and 40s, and that's what we publish here at Galaxy Press, in addition to this contest, Writers of the Future. And so what's one of the things really good too is when we go to these conventions, like we're heading up to Salt Lake City for FanX, which is short for Fan Experience. It's really good because you get to meet a lot of fans, a lot of people that love to read, and they can come and they can talk. And we'll have in our booth, because we're really good friends with the owners, we'll have Kevin Anderson, his wife Rebecca Mesta, Steve Sterling, S.M. Sterling, and Larry Niven will be signing full time at our booth at Salt Lake City. We had in Atlanta, we had Orson Scott Card, who had just like literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fans bringing books to sign. But we also had several other authors too. Same thing when we were in Tampa. So that's one thing we really like about these conventions is it gives us an opportunity to meet new fans. Fans can be able to discover new books, and they can actually meet some of their favorite authors, which is a really good thing to be able to offer to anybody who likes to read. And Salt Lake City FanX is an amazing convention. It's an amazing place to go because there's so many great literate people there in Utah. We've had, if you're from Utah right now, raise your hand and say, hey, hopefully you can come by and see us at next week at the Salt Palace in Salt Lake City. But there's going to be, I guess, 120,000 people there, and for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it's a real fun show for us. We sell just a bucket load of books. We'll sell, 700, 800 books. It's just for over those 3 days. And then Marcus and Sarah also work at Galaxy Press. They're going to be going to a military base the day before. We do great there at the military base, just outside of Salt Lake City. So it's just a lot of fun meeting people and seeing people who are fans. And because we go to these shows so frequently, we get a lot of repeat customers. They come back, okay, I got this and this, so what's my next book? Or they get the next edition of Writers of the Future. And we'll also have 8 past Writers of the Future winners there as well that'll be signing at the booth. So we're very excited that we're able to be going there to see our friends and have our friends come and see us too.
Yeah, it's always nice to get up there.
Yeah,
it's a good conference for people to go hang out at if y'all got time to get up there. So y'all should fly up, drive up, hang out. Besides, I think Utah's probably the most literate state in the country. Well, at least they produce writers at a crazy rate.
Yeah, we get the highest number of winners for Rise of the Future per capita from Utah than any other state in the U.S.
What's that, Lindsay? No, really. No, it's serious. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I gotta. I'll check on that tomorrow. I don't know. I haven't been in around any of those accounts today, but I'll let y'all know which ones are. All the YouTube accounts should be available, and I know the Rumble accounts are available. So the only one you'll have to check is Facebook. Yeah. The website? No, the website's up. I just checked it yesterday. Yeah, everything's good there. What do you mean, do I want to be on TV? I'm on TV right now. On Roku television right now, yeah. Going to God knows how many people. But I've been on network television. I've been on several times. It's not, First time's a little nerve-wracking. After that, it's not that big of a deal. Because usually you're not in front of a live audience anyway, which I would prefer. But I prefer live audiences.
Yeah, I do too.
I like to talk with them. I like to get personal with them. I enjoy doing lectures where there's an audience. Yeah. No, I mean I've done Ancient Aliens a couple of times. 3 times, 3, 4. I don't know. I think I've only done them 3 times, and they've used my stuff 4 or 5 times. Yeah. Well, they you do like 5 hours with them every day you're with them. Yeah, so it's just they get a lot of material. No, I've been on Discovery and History as well. Been on Netflix too. It's because it ain't what y'all think it is. And then it's not that they pay there, but it's not an all the time gig, and there's so much competition for so many different things out there. And I'm not an actor. That's John's job, man. He's out there in Hollywood, man. I don't, I can't. It's not, I don't have the patience for that. I barely had the patience to talk to anybody lately. Hmm. Well, I still like to read, but it's easier for me. And John's heard me talk about this 100 times, but it's easier for me to use an audiobook with a decent voice. It's just easier. Like if I'm going on long rides, I got to go places. Like we went on sky watching a couple weeks back, so I actually queued up a couple of things I wanted to listen to, and put them in the queue and let them run. And I'm sitting out there sky watching. My speakers are going. So it's a nice, relaxed way to do things. And when I'm driving to work, so I got usually an hour and a half back and forth to work each way. So I got plenty of time. You'd be surprised how much book you can get out in an hour and a half on the highway.
Yeah.
Good reader. Well, Kimberly, no, it makes a difference who's reading the book. You can't do like Microsoft Sam or Microsoft Sarah. You want to jump out the car after 20 minutes. It's got to be somebody, or it doesn't have to be a guy. It's just got to be somebody with a decent voice. Because the voice has to help keep you interested. Well, there's got to be some emotion in the voice. I've heard a lot of good. I've listened. No, I've heard a lot that were done by John. I've heard a lot of them all around. I've heard a lot of good audiobooks. And then I've heard audiobooks read by the author, which is a little weird. It's not that they were horrible. It was just a little weird. I don't know how to quite put it into words, but it was just a little strange kind of thing. But John and them bring in the pros to do them, so those always sound good. And wait, what do you want? Wait, who you want? No, I don't think she does audiobooks. And the language she uses now that she's on her own network is way worse than what she was when she was on Fox. Yes, I don't think that's gonna happen. I just don't think that's gonna happen. No, I'm getting ready to cue up some music in a second because we're going to be leaving out in a couple of minutes to go get our guest. Dude, I'm not playing no Pitbull. What are you, smoking something? Who sent me this Jetsons things? No, we're not playing this either. You know, look, people, I love y'all. You know that, right? But
E.
sometimes,
George Jetson
yeah,
is my beauty.
I'd have to be drinking or smoking something to do that, guys. I'm just being honest with y'all. Since I really don't do either one, it's kind of wasting your time. I have played. No, I've actually played that before, Christopher. Don't know why. That's Nora Jones. It's not a bad song, but listen, play something by who? Eric Burden and the Animals. The only song I like that they sing is "House at the Rising Sun." And we already. I'm sorry. It's only. Well, I guess we haven't played. I guess we could, but Stephanie and the Red Dragons. What? People, get a grip. Just put the pipe down, step away from the computer, and turn YouTube off. Okay, I'm just saying you're having issues. Like it's like there's some kind of psycho, some psycho waves going through y'all's brains. No, because we're going to break in a minute. But if y'all send me something good, I'll play it. No, we just did Laney Gardner a little while ago. The Doobie Brothers. Let me see what you. I guess we can play that weird stuff, but I wasn't a big Doobie Brothers fan. Look, okay, it's weird for me because the way I was born, I'm kind of like edge. I'm kind of like the cusp of baby boomers and X Geners, so it's kind of weird for me. Yes, because I like stuff in both generations. Hmm. Yeah, because I grew up with a lot of I grew up with a lot of '60s music. and I wasn't even a teenager yet. No, I enjoyed it. I had a friend of mine, actually more like a babysitter probably, and we used to sit in a truck, and he knew every song that came on. And I don't know. I said, dude, what do you got? Like some kind of list? I mean, he knew every song that came on the station, when it was coming on, how long it was. I'm thinking he must have been a DJ or something of some sort, or knew somebody who was. Because I'd be like, no, you can't know every song. Every song that came on, he knew was there. I was like, why isn't this funny? People, I was 8. What do you expect? Come on. Who? Hootie and the Blowfish? They're all right. Not tonight, but who? The Who? The Who? Who are you? Okay, no. You're giving me a headache. No, we're gonna be leaving in a minute. Hold on. No, that woman standing back there is John's wife, and she will choke him out, man. Oh yeah, I'm telling you what, she's tough. No, she's a sweetheart. No, she really
You
is.
get iCar because I also have one of my favorite ones. Is called Unwritten.
It's you can send it to me if it's in the if you got it.
I
And
just
damn, we can
emailed
put
it to you.
no, email it. Put it in here. Look, put it right here.
How do I put it?
Let me type hello to you. Hello. Did you hold on? So did you see hello come up? If not, look for comments
I put
on
in
the
comment.
yeah. So you'll see I just typed
Okay,
in
good.
hello in there. That's right. And they got a private chat, but okay, either one. Da. Justin Wade. I'm not playing anything Justin Bieber played. I'm sorry, guys. I don't hate Justin, even though he's a friend of P Diddy. I'm not hating. I'm just being cautious. I know I'm gonna pay for that next Friday. Oh man. Uh, so we're gonna. What's that, Jackie? No, we're gonna be going to break in about 2 minutes. No, in about
I
2
can't
minutes.
make a comment until I join with via YouTube.
Oh no! You can make a comment on here, in here with me. So on the comment box, you can make it in the regular comments, or you can make it in the
Because it says
private chat.
join the chat.
Yeah, I don't know why it's trying to get you to join chat because there's chat in here. So watch. This is private. I'm just gonna say hello in private. Okay, so you should see that. It says private. If you get private chat, click on. I just said hello.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, so at the bottom there's a box down there that you can type in.
Okay, there, I just gave you the link.
Yeah. No, I got it the first time you gave it to me. It's already
Oh.
sitting in. It's already sitting in a thing.
Okay.
I was just getting ready to do this with it. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. That's in there. All right. Okay, everything looks good. Pop that out like that so it's on full screen. Bring it up with John and I. Yes, I like to talk to myself, Bruce. What about it? So does like 90% of America. At least I'm not calling myself them or they, okay? So don't give me nothing, schizoid people. Y'all know how I feel about that, yes. If you think you're a them or a they, you need to see a psychologist. I'll just be upfront about it. Go ask psychologists what they think. Bruce, who? Oh, no. So, I met Dean first time like 5 years ago out at Writers of the Future. He's great, actually. He's a lot of fun. He's very pointed in the way he speaks. We'll just be polite about it. I like people who talk with what's on their mind. I don't like people who beat around the bush. It pisses me off. No, I really do. And there's a couple of straightforward authors out there that speak right what they think. And there's a couple of illustrators like that too. And some of them are smoother. It just depends on who you are and what they're trying to teach you. Dan DeSantis is the smoothest person out there. He's like, what's that song? I can't think of it now. He's like the Dos Equis guy, man. I'm telling y'all. Just younger. Yeah, he is. He's like the Dos Equis guy, but younger. He's a good looking guy. He's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. What? You get See, I hear about people like these from time to time from other shows we do and stuff. And when you get to meet them, you see a different than what you hear. I guess their public image is different. Well, when they're at Writers of the Future, they're more personable in the fact that they're there for you, not to sell their books or their art. It's different, yeah. And I mean it when I say they're there for you. They are there for you. Frankly, I don't know how they put up with half of y'all. To be honest with you, but they are really there for you, and all of them are really nice and go way out of their way to make sure that if you made it there, you come away with something good. And so far, since I've seen it, that's what's happened. No, we're going to cue this song up. We'll be back in about, I think, 3 or 4 minutes. I don't know. We may have a guest. We may not. It's been one of them kind of nights tonight.
Yeah, Alex is apparently he's all set.
Okay. What's that, Stephanie? We'll talk about that when I get back. Everyone stay tuned. This is The Author's Quill with John Goodwin and Joe Montaldo. We'll be right back with our guest, Alex, because I'm not going to say his last name because I've already butchered it 4 times. Frankie, we'll see you then. So stay tuned and hang on for the ride. Welcome back, everyone, to The Author's Quill. I hope y'all are having a good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are on this big, beautiful blue planet. Yes, I know we got a lot of people in Australia down there hanging out with us. And I always like the UK audience because they're always kind of fun. It's kind of still a little early for them, so it's only about 11, 12 p.m., so they're okay. But one of my other shows I host, it's like middle of the morning. They're always a little loopy. It's a fun audience. We're going to bring our guest up in just a second. Anybody posting questions? If you are on the new Rumble service, you can post through the chat group on Rumble. It will appear right here in StreamYard with the rest of us. Of course, everybody should already know that about YouTube and Facebook and all the rest of them. And my messenger boxes are always open on all 3 of the Joe pages, so you can always write us there as well. And I'm sorry, Khalees. If y'all are going back to Roku, though, they don't have you'll have to use Messenger or something to text me there because Roku, it's a television station. They don't have a chat system now. They just carry us on TV and yes, and high def, by the way, 4K. So I know John and I look just so beautiful tonight. Alex is going to look really good when he gets up here. Everybody's going to be a beautiful night. But anyway, let's bring our guest up. Oh, man. Good evening, Alex. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, Joe. Hi, John. Good to talk to you guys both again.
Good to see you again. I'm sorry I missed you in Atlanta. When I saw that you're posting you were there in Atlanta at Dragon Con, it was like, I got a huge booth there.
I never assume I'm going to run into anyone at Dragon Con because there's 75,000 people there. And so I try my best to set all the meetings for the smaller conventions because it's like looking for someone in New York City and just hoping you run into them.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. It is weird though. I do run into people when I'm there, but it's just moving around with that many people. You don't know where, you might be with a friend. They may be in this building. You may be in this building. They may just be out getting something to eat. It's crazy. People, if y'all ever get to go to Dragon Con, you really should go. It's a lot of fun. I tell everybody, you might want to work out a little bit before you go because it's a lot of walking. Unless you're a presenter, there might not be as much walking for the presenters, but for everybody else, it is a lot of walking.
I lose weight every year I go to Dragon Con because I'm walking from my hotel to the convention multiple times a day, and then walking between all the hotels that the convention is taking place in. And I am a presenter, so
yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's nice to cut the lines, but you're still walking from place to place.
Exactly.
Oh no, Gene. No, you can't. Okay, you can't cut the lines unless you're a presenter or press or something. There's and vendors and stuff like
For
that.
A famous author like Alex Shvartsman.
Yeah, or famous authors, things like that. But everybody's got to get in line. Oh no! So stupid me, I forgot I had a pass. I'm standing in line. I'm like, what? And this line's like wrapped around a building 1.5 times. I'm thinking, the hell with this? I'm gonna go get something to eat. And then I was walking past this guy, and he flips the thing up, and he says, "You don't have to wait in the line." I'm like, really? I've been waiting out there like 3 hours. Oh, people sometimes. But that's why I say get in a little bit of shape because I usually lose about 5 pounds when I go to Dragon Con. It's because everything in Atlanta is up and down. It's hilly. And the way the hotels are set up, some of them you're on the top of the hill, some are down at the bottom hill, and you got to go back up the hill. But it's good exercise. It'll keep you in shape. So how did you like it? I mean, I didn't get to go this year. Unfortunately, I had to work. It worked out. We got busy. We had a hurricane come through, so we got busy right before the storm. All right, so it was kind of crazy. But how did you like it? It was a good year. A lot of people.
It's a great show every year. They know how to put on a good show. It's either the second or the third largest geeky convention in the United States, depending on
That's
how
the
you count.
second. Yeah.
Yeah, after San Diego Comic-Con.
After
So
San
like
Diego.
some people will say the New York Comic-Con is second, and some people will say they're second because I think they're all doing different math. Some are counting by day, some are counting the total number of people throughout the week.
Yeah.
Either way, it's very much worth your time, and there's so much going on, and a lot more literary stuff than New York Comic Con, which is in my neck of the woods. So there now New York Comic Con is trying to catch up a little bit, but they're still very far behind.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I mean,
for me, New York Comic Con is too expensive. I can't justify the expenses. I mean, I go down to San Diego, I do that one there because I've been there forever. So I've got like prime real estate that if I stop 1 year, I lose it, and I'm by the bathroom again, working back my way back up again. But Dragon Con, love that show. Good friends with Pat Henry and the family, so that helps. And he loves writers of the future and illustrators of the future. He was a keynote speaker a few years ago, and so they help us bring in big name authors. So we had Orson Scott Card come this year for the first time in like 16 years or something like that he's been to a convention, and it was crazy. He had more people come to see Scott Card than any of the other guests or judges there. I mean, it was hundreds of people. The lines, he did 6 hours of signing. And at first when he came, okay, so you guys need any help? No, we got this. We can, because he booth signing. And then all of a sudden it was like 2 hours before the signing, the line was wrapping around the convention. And I went, okay, yeah, we do need. So they had 4 people assigned to us walkie-talkies to handle the crowd control of people coming in, getting books signed. This is my son Ender, because he wrote Ender's Game, and this is this tattoo I got. They come with a big tattoo. I got this. This is from Speaker from the Dead, and these different things. It was just people were just like amazed. It was amazing on that stuff. But Joe, the thing that I was so excited when I suggested to Carmen to reach out to Alex, because he was a guest on the Rise of the Future podcast last year. I think it was last year. And the name of this story was Kakistocracy, which I think is just, I love that word. That's like, I didn't know the word, and it's the name of this book. And I'll just read the definition. Government by the least suitable or competent citizens of a state. And so I immediately became like an instant fan of Alex, because I like satire. And so he obviously, was just by the very title, it just sets you up then for that's great satire, because we're getting ready to release Mission Earth, which you've listened to most of it now. I don't know if you're familiar with it all, Alex, but Mission Earth is just total satire on planet Earth from the perspective of the aliens. But looking at Kakistocracy is like a state or society governed by its least suitable or competent citizens. And I look at what we experience in the media, so like it makes it very fun and very easy. Okay, let's swing attention over onto a book. It's a fantasy book. Yeah, this is fiction. Yeah, this is fine. It's New York City, and yeah, it's it's like whoa. I know. And it doesn't matter what party you are, because it pokes fun at both sides, just with the insanity of how people will elect the most diabolical people to do them in. You take a look at your mayor and stuff in there, So, but I love that book, and that it was just like it was so cool.
Well, thank you so much. It's really a really, really bad time to be a political satirist right now, because you just can't compete with the headlines. If I put half the stuff that happened in the last few months into my book, people reading it a year ago would have just thrown it off their shoulder and said, no, this is completely unrealistic. I believe all the magic stuff that you're putting in. I believe the monsters and demons and everything else that walks the streets of New York City in this book, but I don't believe that.
Yeah.
And so it's all like I'm glad that the book came out when it did, because man, like I would not want it to be coming out during the election season.
No, I
So
mean
it's yeah,
fiction has to make sense. Real life doesn't, and so real life, you couldn't like invent more fiction than what you're seeing right now playing out. But in your story, you've got to make everything connect. There's no such thing as accidents, and accidents is a cheap trick. It's a cheap plot, writing plot to be able to handle mistakes in your timeline there. But in real life, you can have Ferdinand make a wrong turn and get stuck, and there you go. It's just like if you put that in fiction, it would be like, this is crazy. You're
When
bad.
when God fails your assassination attempt, he just gives you another one.
I know. Ain't that some shit? It's I don't know. It's but you see too many of them, and then they'll start thinking, oh my God, he might be like, in favor or something.
And
Stuff
before the
always makes me
audience,
nervous. I'm sorry, okay.
I was going to say, before the audience thinks that we're talking about current political events, no, we're talking about World War One.
Yeah.
So just to be clear.
Yeah. No, it's just like, and when you get into politics, it's always just, and it's nothing, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, it's nothing new. It's been,
No, it's not.
take a look at politics going back decade after decade after decade. I remember how, as insane as it is right now, in the 60s, with Vietnam. I mean, it was a powder keg here in America. And it was like, the protests and stuff against being in Vietnam. And I just had, when I was pulling up the video that we just played before you coming on, and there was the Crosby, Stills and Nash, which I played for somebody else, Ohio. That was a huge protest song with 4 students that were killed by National Guard that Nixon sent in, because they were protesting against the Vietnam War, and they came in and they shot them. And it was like, that was 60s. It was crazy, and you go back earlier, it was just, it's nothing new. It's just that each time right now, it just seems so incendiary, and there's all types of wacko stuff happening. It's just as the technology gets more advanced, and fortunately with you pushed it in the direction of fantasy and didn't go into technology. So it's easier to bite that, to bite that pill. I can deal with that as fantasy gets more and more and more, powerful. And now they use it to fight stuff. It's easier to accept that in your story than looking at the technology as it gets more and more, destructive. So you just had magical weapons that were more destructive, and then going into the, it was amazing how you did that. But it's just, the satire is just so sweet.
Thank you. And I have to say, the most destructive thing in that story are the human beings. I mean, it's not the weapons, it's not the technology, it's not the magic, it's what people are willing to do. And I think that that's universal.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned, like with the 1960s and everything. So I grew up in the Soviet Union, and I witnessed like the very end, the final years of the Soviet Union as it was falling apart.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely crazy. It was probably one of the most fascinating political shifts and changes in the history of the 20th century. And in a way, looking back at it, I'm glad I witnessed it. I wasn't so glad while I was witnessing it.
Yeah.
You know how they say, may you live in interesting times as a curse? So that was definitely true, but then it gives you the perspective to look back. And I think that a lot of what I put into this book is drawn from those experiences. So even though they're not American experiences per se, it's relatively universal. Like what I saw there is in many ways connects with what we've been seeing in this country as well. And so, trying to tell that story in a way where a person can read it and appreciate it and get the takeaway from it, regardless of what political party they're in or what candidate they're voting for.
Yeah.
I think that's the balancing act, and I tried to work as hard as I could to to keep my own biases out, to focus on concepts that the readers generally will agree with because they're more or less universal.
Yeah, what you did, which works, and it worked. I like it when it works. The best is like you deal with like the big government, the bigger picture, but the protagonist is a local guy. He's like a regular Joe. That's like he's just trying to make it go, and he's dealing with trying to do the right thing. He's trying to help and trying to do the right thing, and he's pulled between doing the right thing versus, but what about myself? But I got the group, and that makes it more realistic, and it's easier to accept that, and you can then look at the politicals being whacked out, but it's separated out, so it's easier to see that for what it is. And when you have the guy on the street just trying to make it go, he's just trying to make it. He's just trying to live, and he wants to help his friends. He's got his neighborhood. He's trying to take care of his neighborhood. He's not into the big global picture. I just want my friends and myself to have a good life.
And isn't that all of us?
Yeah.
I mean, like at a fundamental level, unless any of us have like the temerity and the level of psychosis to run for public office, that's basically all of us. Like most people just want to have a better life for themselves and their families and their friends. And so I think it's a very relatable trait, which makes it easier for me to draw this character for the readers, and kind of have them nod and say, yeah, whatever party I'm in, these are the values that I still subscribe to.
Yeah. And it makes it easier to take like the the tartness of your seeds there in your satire. You can take it and go, ooh, yeah, because you see it. I mean, I'm here in Los Angeles. I just see that's like front and center, that type of political stuff happening. And I've got really good friends, and I've got people that I think are just absolutely wackadoodle in LA City Council. So I've got you see the both extremes, and I'm sure it's the same way in New York, in every big city. You're going to have that, and people are trying to do their thing for self-aggrandizement, and I'm for whatever reason. But you got the regular Joe, I just want to be able to go out and have a good time on Friday night or Saturday night, and I want to be able to have my family know that they're going to have a good life, and when I'm gone, it's going to, things will be able to carry on. And anyway, so I just love the book. I was thinking of when I saw that I missed you at Dragon Con, like, dang, because I'd love to be able to, find another book to read and have you back on as a guest sometime, next year. It's because I had so much fun with your book and talking to you. And so, it's just, I love satire. And we're getting ready to come out with, like I said, Mission Earth next year, re-releasing that from Hubbard from the mid 80s. And it's funny because back then it was very much satire, science fiction. Now it's more like true life.
We live in interesting times, that's for sure.
I will make it a point next time we're at the same convention together. If I'm aware of it, I'll make a point to reach out and see if you have some availability, and we'll grab a coffee or something. And
that sounds great.
Of course, I would be happy to come back and talk to you, on the Writers of the Future podcast anytime.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Or anywhere else. So
okay, good. Yes. So what's the next book of yours? Because I'm already telling everybody about Kakisaki. What's the next book that I should read?
So can't read it quite yet, unfortunately, but I did finish a new novel since we last spoke, and talk about humor. So I actually consider the two books in a series currently, The Middling Affliction and Kakistocracy, action adventure with some humor thrown in, some satire, some humor thrown in. Since then, I went and I wrote a straightforward humor book. So something in the vein of Terry Pratchett or Douglas Adams, more Adams. Wow. And this book is called The Best of All Possible Planets. And it is a space opera take on Candide, written as a series of Futurama episodes. So it is absolutely bonkers. completely nuts, just filled with jokes. And the kind of the driving force of this book is to skewer all the tropes and cliches of space opera. So
Wow.
so the character,
Spaceballs on steroids.
yeah. So except for Spaceballs, only goes after the one franchise. I'm going after them all and cackling.
Galaxy Quest meets Spaceballs meets.
So in the book, the cast of characters are chasing a literal MacGuffin across the universe, and every chapter is a different planet that they visit, and every planet that they visit, or a space station, or whatever, is a science fiction cliche. So at one point, they might be on the planet of killer robots that want to kill all humans, except for they haven't even seen a human in thousands of years, and it's just become like this religious thing that you say at church, but you don't ever do. And now that they find themselves like facing actual real humans, they're like, oh, we don't want to kill anyone. What do we do about this? Like our dogma is kind of meeting. And then another planet is a space western setting. Another planet is a Star Wars setting. Then they go to like the Babylon 5 station, which is a 1950s dingy truck stop. So it is a completely bonkers book. But
Wow.
unfortunately, it probably will be quite some time before anybody gets to read it, because at this stage, it's still on my agent's desk. So my agent hasn't even finished reading it. I just finished it fairly recently. So because I am pursuing traditionally published route, this is always a very long journey. So it could
Sure.
take a year or two for a book to sell somewhere, then it could take another year or two for it to get published. So we just don't know. If I'm very, very lucky, it'll come out in 2026. But chances are it might be a long time. But if there's a major publisher listening out there and it sounds good to them, tell them to call my agent and get them to send them this book.
Good. Good. Yeah. So that sounds. Because what I'll do also with authors will also reach out to me and I'll read their book as an ARC so we do the podcast and I'll post it as it's releasing. I did that with A.G. Riddle. I've got one coming with Nettie Corfor. I'll be doing her next book, and we'll be interviewing that and then releasing the podcast as the book releases. So yeah, I love being able to do that now to help out. Now that we've got ourselves established with a good listenership.
I will definitely reach out to you about that.
Yeah.
I do have one other project that's coming out late next year that may be of interest to you as well or not, but you can decide. So part of what I do in our industry, in addition to writing my own books, is I translate professionally. So I translate from Russian, and I've worked on movies, TV shows, video games, all sorts of different stuff. But my favorite thing is to translate short stories and novels, because that's the world that we're all in, and it's the best kind of stuff. And there's one author in particular. Her name is Katerina, who writes these fabulous stories in the style of Kelly Link or Sarah Pinsker, would probably be the two closest comps. And I've now translated enough of her short stories that have been published in places like Reactor and FNSF and Asimov's and all sorts of top tier markets. That there will be a collection coming out in late 2025 from Fairwood Press. So I'm not the author of this book, but I am the translator, which is almost like being a co-author, sort of. I mean, it's a really it is a creative job and not a technical one, which is what sometimes people make that mistake. So if that's something that you want to read, we can send you that as well.
Good. Yeah, we'll definitely follow up after this and talk about that. I'm interviewing Monday. The he just he was the editor for like 10, 15 years of Analog and Asimov. And so I've got him as a guest coming up. He sent me a book. I'm reading that, and then we're going to talk about that and the history of Asimov and Analog, because Hubbard was he worked with John W. Campbell writing short stories that were being published because obviously it was science fiction, and so he was there. He had a book published, or a short story published on the 90th anniversary of Analog, going all the way back to the beginning. So that should be pretty good. But so you specialize in at least you see the humor and satire stuff. How is that you arrived at that as a genre that you write, as compared to just straight science fiction or alternate history? Working on a different past of USSR?
So when I envisioned myself becoming a writer and I thought about the kinds of books that I'm going to write, they were always these grandiose sense of wonder, space opera adventures and things like that. I never once figured that I would be any sort of a humorist. And so when I first started writing stories for publications and getting a few things published here and there in magazines, they were those kinds of stories, or at least that's what I was aiming for, right? I never really tried to like be funny on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
One day I sat down to write a story and I just felt, in this very kind of persnickety mood. And I wrote a funny story. And I was amazed at how well it flowed, how much easier it was for me to write. Uh, Popular wisdom is that humor is harder to write than straightforward genre fiction, which is probably true for most people.
Yeah.
But somehow I found that I have a predisposition toward it. And I just, it's not that I can't be a stand-up comedian. If you put me, if you ask me to like start cracking jokes right now, I will probably just fall on my face very quickly. But I can be funny on paper because I've got all the time to come up with a line that my character is just going to quit. And so once I wrote that funny story and I saw that the story sold, I was like, well, hey, let me do more of that. And I started pumping out not necessarily straightforward humor, but stories that were a little lighter and a little bit more kind of whimsical.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wrote what is to this day my most successful short story. And that story was called Explaining Cthulhu to Grandma. So it's a pretty funny story, as you could probably tell from the title. And the concept of the story is that so you probably are familiar with the History Channel show Pawn Stars, about this guy and his family that runs a pawn shop. So it's that kind of a pawn shop being ran by this grandmother and her granddaughter, except for it's a pawn shop that deals in magical items. And at the beginning of the story, somebody trades in Cthulhu on pawn, and Cthulhu is trapped in a pocket dimension, which is basically a snow globe. And this young lady who is trying to prove to her grandmother that she is capable of taking over the shop at some point and running it, which is kind of the same tension as happens on the History Channel show between the generations of the people in the war.
And that was your story too that I read too that had that sim type thing, the pawn shop.
Mm-hmm.
That
Well,
was
that's probably the story that you read.
okay, good.
That's
Yeah.
for the grandma. And so that story, I wrote it pretty early in my career. I hardly had just maybe like a few short stories that were published at professional venues at the time. Uh, Orson Scott Card's magazine, Intergalactic Medicine Show, picked it up. They ran the story. It was did very, very well. A lot of people linked to it, read it, and then it won the Whisper Award, which was the very first humorous short story to do so. So it really kind of put me on the map as a humorist more so than anything else. And I owe people that worked in the magazine as well as Scott that gratitude for that, because really who knows where else it would have ended up and what kind of readership it would have received, or whether it would be even nominated for that award at that point. So that really pushed my career even farther into writing humor. And I've kind of never looked back. Now I'm like, okay, well, obviously people like the jokes that I tell, so I can just feel free to tell more of them, and I just keep following it up with more. The more absurd and outlandish, the better, because I feel like the audiences tend to get pretty jaded. There's a lot of humor out there. There's a lot of, I mean, we get shows like Futurama and Rick and Morty and stuff like that all the time, and it's hard to compete with those like teams of like 10 or more Harvard graduates that are writing humor, right? So you have to like really come up with outlandish concepts, and I try to do a lot of different styles or genres of humor, but I do tend to keep going back to that well of Lovecraftian humor, because I feel like H.P. Lovecraft and his entire universe is just so inherently silly.
Mm-hmm.
And I followed up that story with something called Dreidel of Dread, the very Cthulhu Hanukkah, which was a short story that another person affiliated with Writers of the Future, Mike Resnick, published in Galaxy's Edge.
Wow.
So that was published about 10 years ago. And this year, one of the projects that I worked on was converting that story into a picture book. into a board book. So this is actually the end result for this. This is coming out later this year. It's an advanced copy, and we got it richly illustrated with all this, Lovecraftian humor. I mean, this is my favorite
Yeah.
page. So this is it started life as 1,000 word or like maybe 800 word short story, and now it's its own book. I
That's
honestly
cool.
worked with a very talented artist, Tommy Arriera, to make that happen. But basically, it's just pushing that idea of like what can be done with humor. And now, instead of just pitching it to science fiction and fantasy readers, this is a holiday gift item, because this is something that you can give somebody for Christmas, for Hanukkah, and we decided, well, why not try to do this and see how well it sells. And so that's another way to kind of approach doing different things in the science fiction and fantasy industry that are just fresh and original, and like very few other people are trying.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, and I know Joe and I have talked about this too, but see, I love satire. I love satire, but more than just straight humor. I mean, satire by definition is going to be humor,
Mhm.
but it's more. It has more of a message that's running through there. It's pointing out some foible or something that needs to be addressed in society, but it makes it palatable to a degree to be able to discuss it. You take it away from the lightning bolts that are going back and forth talking about it straight away. But if you put it into satire, then you can look and be like,
Well,
well, that's pretty silly.
this
That's pretty
this
silly.
this political environment lends itself to satire. It's just great. I mean, we can't help ourselves. We do a 4 hour news show on Friday night. No matter how serious you try to take this, at some point in that show, we're going to switch over for a good hour into satire because it's just too easy. I mean, I'm not a comedian by any means either, but so and the audience loves it. They're eating it up. I mean, they're just like they're actually happier when I'm being meaner. To be honest with you, it's just it's a shame. It really is, um, but it just seems like everybody seems to be just a little uptight. So like someone like you who's offering something that will make you laugh is right off the bat a better thing. Because man, it's tough, but we'll be doing we'll be going through all the stuff about the two candidates, and it just instantly goes from serious news to oh my god, the next 45 minutes, hours, just pure satire, and you can't. It's almost hard to stop yourself, but we know there's other segments we have to get done. So, but it's a lot of fun. It is. It's a shame that we should be laughing at our politicians, but I was thinking about you because I didn't know you were from Russia. And just recently, I've done a big group of interviews with two reporters out of Russia, one for TASS and one for, what's the, man, I always want to call them propaganda. That's not the prop. I'm sorry. Shame on you, Joe. Damn. But it would have been so nice to know you because accents are hard when you're fresh accents because you could tell these guys are Russian, probably hadn't spoke all that much English. And I know, like maybe 7 words in Russian, maybe for some interesting interviews. But they got a lot of good material. It was a lot of fun. And a friend of mine said, "You're not worried you're doing an interview with the enemy?" I said, "What enemy?" He said, I said, "They're not our enemy. They're the Ukrainians' enemy. They're not blowing shit up over here. What are you talking about?" I said, "No." I said, "I don't know if I go traveling over there right now." I said, but it's I don't know. It's just weird to see all this going on. And it's weird. I guess satire helps people to take these serious situations we're talking about and just let them unwind out of their brain.
So, point of order, I'm actually from Ukraine rather than from Russia.
Oh, are you? Well, yeah, tell me. It's
I, I am from Ukraine. I'm from the Russian speaking part of Ukraine. So Russian was my first language. Ukrainian was my second language, and English was my third. Uh,
what's is it a huge difference between the two? I'm always curious
it's a
with
huge difference.
is it okay?
The Russian propaganda machine would like you to believe that the two languages are almost interchangeable. In fact, and I say this as a translator, as somebody who like really, really focuses on language. The lacuna between the two languages is about as far as Spanish and French. Not Spanish and Portuguese,
That's a
but
big one.
Spanish and French.
Yeah,
You
that's a
will
big one.
understand about half of what's being said, but not the other half. If you don't know the other language. But
It's
having said that, I agree with you on the point that the people are not the enemy. I work with a lot of Russian authors still. Now I'm very much pro-Ukraine in this war.
No, you got to be. Well, I'm pro Ukraine too.
I make no apologies for that. I'm very, I've spoken out about it on publicly a lot, but I will continue to work with writers from Russia. I will continue to try to get them published here, because the worst possible thing that we can do is to close those cultural gateways.
I agree.
Like to prohibit our books from being published there, to prohibit their books from being published. Imagine if at the height of the Cold War, we decided to say, oh, we're not going to publish like Russian dissidents here because they're in Russia and we don't like the Soviet Union, so we're just not going to publish them. Or if we didn't send our literature, our movies, all of our stuff over. I grew up still, I was born in '75, so I grew up in the early '80s watching pirated, dubbed American movies, and the general attitude of my generation was we liked Americans. We enjoyed the culture that they were importing, and that is what you want. You don't want people growing up in Russia having no access to any of this stuff. And
no, I agree. I mean, most Americans are back. I don't want to say the war, but they back the Ukraine in the war, and it's weird because when I know a lot of people in Russia, I know quite a few in Ukraine actually, and it's weird for me because when I'm talking to them, not anybody, because we have a couple people on the ground over there that we do military stuff with, but when we're talking to them, doesn't matter what side, they're just like, leave me alone. I want to enjoy my life. I don't hate Americans. Americans ain't never
like
done
what we were
this.
talking about earlier in the show here, Alex. Yeah.
They just basically want to be basically just left alone. But it's just so hard now because everybody's got to stick their nose in everybody else's business, and I'm not even sure why. And I'm still. And I got in trouble for this. I probably shouldn't even say this in the show. I got in trouble. I was doing a lecture a couple of weeks ago, and a guy asked me about actually reprinting. Well, I said, "Well, I'll tell you what." I said, "I'll get on Putin's side more when I start seeing some of these Nazis being caught and tried somewhere." And he's like, "What are you?" I said, "Dude, that's what he said. The war Bridget was over. He's going to get Nazis." I said, "I haven't seen a Nazi caught yet. I've seen a lot of stuff blown up, but I said I'm still waiting to see my first Nazi." I said, he just needs to stop it. He just needs to stop. And this is, he's just wasting time and money. I don't even know what the hell he's doing.
So it's not that they don't exist in Ukraine, but their percentage is about the same as here. We have not here. They're deplorable. We don't like them.
They're all over.
They exist, and I can point at Nazis that exist in Russia. I can point at Nazis that exist in Ukraine. They're not running the government. They're not like in any way. I mean, the Ukraine truly was on its path to becoming a civilized Western country. A friend of mine spent the entirety of, I think, 2021, like the year before the war, living in my home city of Odessa, and he absolutely loved it. I mean, it was just an up and coming economy. Things were booming. Yes, there's corruption. And that's true.
That's always there.
That's true every country in Eastern Europe. I mean, whether they're part of NATO, whether they're part of the European Union. I was in Bulgaria for a week, and people were telling me about all the corruption that exists.
Yeah, that's all stuff that has to be worked out a little at a time. It just doesn't go away.
Yeah,
it's not even in this country.
But really, like as soon as they could argue politically all they want, and they can make their points and kind of like push back at each other. But as soon as they start bombing civilians and the troops starting coming over the border, who's in the wrong.
Well, yeah, and and that's one of the first things that got him in shit with the world was, we're just going to bomb anybody indiscriminately. Well, no, you said you were looking for somebody, and you even knew where they were. I mean, I heard that a dozen times in the beginning of the war. Oh no, we even know where they are. Well, really, here we are. What, 2 years later? And we still ain't got any. I'm just, at that point, he just should have said, look, all right, we effed up. We're going to get out of here. He just don't want to get the territory back, so he's just going to be a whiny little baby until, but if you don't knock it off, he's going to find himself in more trouble than he's in now. And I don't know how he's staying in power, to be honest with you, with the Ukraine bombing inside of Russia and even getting into Moscow a few times. I don't know how he's staying in power. I mean, it's got to make him look weak.
People overestimate how much just the regular people on the ground, apolitical people that live in the country, how much appetite they have to try and overthrow any government.
Yes, so, yeah.
Throughout its entire history, Russia has had democracy for maybe several years out of thousands of years of history.
Yeah.
So they're not really ready to fight for their freedom. It's not like the American Revolution where you had all these people who were malcontents in their own countries, especially in the UK, and they came to America and they all the malcontents got together and booted out the British. That is not the situation there. People have always lived under the Tsar, under the Soviets, under the dictator like Putin, and there's been like maybe like a few brief moments of something resembling democracy. So we have to be more patient with them, and we have to understand that that is not what's going to. I mean, somebody's going to replace him probably eventually, but it's going to be somebody from the inside of his cabinet. And if we're very lucky, then it's going to be somebody like Gorbachev who will ultimately want to be friendly with the West, and not somebody who's much, much worse with him, which is equally possible.
Yeah. I don't. It's just a mess, is what it is. No doubt. No, we know all about that. We saved that for Friday nights, my friend. But yeah, we know all about North Koreans and sending them.
Yeah, we went way deeper into politics than any of us.
But well, no, it's a touchy spot in our country. I mean, it's a way more touchy spot in your country, but I mean, it's a touchy spot in our country, and most Americans, we just don't like seeing anybody bullied. I think is what it really comes down to. It's I think it really what it comes down to. We'll just help anybody as long if because Russia's got, and I'm still confused about this too. So I read the other day they've got 14,000, 15,000 tanks. Where are they? Why are they playing this game? Why haven't they deployed these things? What do they even have a military? I mean, their population's getting kind of skanky and kind of old. So it's either real young or real old. The in between isn't that much anymore. So I'm kind of like, what exactly are they planning on doing here?
Yeah, so somebody can write a book about that since we're talking about the author's Quill here.
Somebody write a book, okay? People get us out of trouble.
Good.
Most of these tanks got stripped for copper wiring at some point. Is what happened. I mean, not literally, but basically that's what happened. Is rampant theft at every level of Russian military and government, and like somebody was skimming at the very top, and then a step down, and a step down. And by the time you get down to it, that tank exists on paper.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was thinking that's what it really is. They better stay friends with the Chinese because they're getting themselves in trouble right now.
So anyway, so Kakistocracy was a great book that has. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it probably in Barnes and Noble.
Absolutely.
Oh, good. And Books A Million and wherever fine books are sold.
And of course on Audible or any other audiobook platform.
So he's already on my list. Good. You're right on my plus list with the audiobook, right? I bet.
Yeah, there we go.
Audiobook is so important. I listen to everything in audio, and so a lot of the time the writer has no influence on whether the audiobook is going to happen or not. But I will do whatever I can to facilitate this because that is my favorite format. Like, I mean, all of my reading for fun is audiobooks.
Good. If I sent you Mission Earth, because that's when we're at least the first time, if I sent that to you as an audiobook, we've got it. It's about 200 actors. It's like listening to a movie.
I'll check it out for sure.
150,000.
Yeah, I'm on book 8.5.
Yeah, so Joe's
How many books are there?
It's a 10-volume series.
Oh wow, okay.
He whenever wrote it as one book. It was 1.2 million words. He wrote it in I think 8 months. It was just like he had 2 manual typewriters, and he'd use one until it broke, and then he'd use the next one. He'd get the first one repaired, and he'd rotate them. And this was back in '81, and he preferred that than electric typewriters or computers. And it was just this manual stuff that he would use and just rotate them. And he wrote it, and then because it was too long, it was broken into 10 books called a decalogy. And it's all of them were New York Times bestsellers when they came out. But it's a total Mission Earth is actually mission to keep Earth from destroying itself. And because it's on an invasion timetable for like 150, 160 years in the future. But by then, it's not going to be habitable for a peaceful takeover. And so the mission is supposed to come in to insinuate technology that's going to help it. But then the mission handlers want it to fail because their base is in Afyon, Turkey, where they export all the drugs there and use that to get all the rulers there on the home planet addicted, get the wives doing weird things. They can then blackmail the politicians so that they vote a certain way. It's like total satire, and so it's pretty amazing. But he's got a lot of technology too that would be great, like spores to eat up the pollution in the air and to get rid of various things. And he talked about the president of the planet, this guy named Rocket Center. Rocket Center
There's a
is
lot of
the
that kind of
president
stuff.
of everything because they live. They're controlled by oil, and so so it's just, but it's a real fun thing. And he's a total pervert. He's there. He's looking through the peepholes at girls and these little.
There's a little bit of everything in there, man.
Yeah, he just pokes fun at everything. The shyster lawyers and the crook criminals and the alphabet soup, groups there, and even the head of the coordinated information apparatus on the home planet picked that name because it was closest to CIA, because he loved the Central Intelligence Agency because of how they operated to, above the law and everything like that. Nothing applies to them. So it's just he hits a little bit of everything.
It doesn't sound like the book has aged a lot.
No.
Actually, it plays really well today. I was really surprised when I started listening to it. It's a long book. I mean, it's like 40 hours, but it's great. I listen to it when I can. Like I said, I'm on book 8.5. There was some good surprises in the book. First book's a little slow because it's character build up, like any half you do, but after that, it's nonstop. Some just going on all the time. There's always something going on, and a lot of times it's multiple things going on at the same time.
You're talking about Orson Scott Card. He read it and he loved the first volume. He thought it was amazing. He said, "You're going to lose sleep. You should make sure you say hello to your family every now and then. Otherwise, they're going to what the heck."
But listen to it's great because it's not just the book itself. I mean, the special effects are really good.
Yeah,
the voices are good. There's a lot of fun sounds going on, a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's just. So,
that's one plus being in Hollywood. We do have access to a lot of actors here.
Yeah, and I've listened to some of your other books, and the quality of the acting and the book recording is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Hasn't told us above the average.
Yeah.
What's it? He just said you can get it in audiobook. He was just saying that a few minutes ago. Yes.
Yeah, Kakisaka is definitely available.
Anywhere books are sold. Yes, I know. I heard that.
But it's on Audible too. It's just one credit to get Kakistocracy on Audible, right?
Yeah, it's just one credit, and again, it is book 2 of the series. We keep talking about it without really mentioning that, but
because I love that word. I think it's just an awesome word.
You can read it as a standalone. It actually works, but of course, like any writer, I would rather you start with book 1, which is The Middling Affliction, and that actually tells the origin story and explains how the character got to where they are before we get to Kakistocracy, and then that's Kakistocracy. So
I read it in the alternate sequence. I read Kakistocracy first for whatever reason, and then I read The Middling Affliction after that.
So I tried really hard to make sure that people who onboarded with Kakistocracy were able to enjoy it without knowing basically anything. In fact, I recruited several brand new beta readers I made sure that they were people who have not read book 1, and I had them read book 2 just to see what their reactions would be versus my usual beta readers.
Yeah, if you want to see how it goes, just listen to the podcast episode with Alex there, because that's what happened with me. We talked based upon having read Kakistocracy, but then after the interview, I read then the first book.
Yeah, I gotta send you anything that you like of mine, because I have other a couple of collections and an epic fantasy novel. So if you enjoy that, my epic fantasy novel is not humor. So that's the one.
I always keep in mind you see this collection of books behind me. There's all kind of stuff up here. We give books away on the station on a regular basis, but during the holidays, we usually give around anywhere from the last 2 years. There's over 2,000 books we gave away during December. And we also were giving them away with lightsabers. So people were going insane. And I'm pretty sure the guy said he's going to pack and do the lightsabers again this year. So we'll be giving away. I mean, there's several different groups that usually send us a large group of books, but a lot of authors. I'm friends with a lot of people. I've been interviewing authors, for 30 years. It's somebody's always sending us stuff to post up there. But you can see some of my own personal favorites, like Death of the Taxman's up there. It stays up there until I decide where it's going. And then there's a bunch of writers. The future's back here behind me. And then of course this year's right here. And then anything that's new coming in that we have talking about. This one right here is a non-human. It's kind of a weird book. Oh, of course, there's Wolf Moon's book, A Howey Good Story. There's all kind of interesting stuff we keep up there, and it rotates out. You know, yeah, it just rotates out. It rotates out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so even the writers of future books rotate. They just sometimes there's this there, sometimes there's that there. The only thing that's actually is the great philosophers. They don't move. They stay back there doing their business. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna tell y'all something. So when I was young, I thought reading the Greek philosophers was gonna be like, it gave me a headache. I'm not kidding y'all. The first 3 books I read, I was like, I must be looking at this in the wrong way or reading this the wrong way, or I didn't. So I actually talked. I was
I need to check one thing real quick. I'll be right back.
I was in private school at the time, and one of our teachers was an author, and she goes, "Let me show you something, Joe." And she goes through the book with me, and she said, "You're not relaxing as you read this book." She said, "Let me show you what you're doing." And she knew. I don't even know how she knew exactly what I was doing. After I talked to her for about an hour, the next time I read one, it was much smoother, much. I don't know what exactly it was. I think I was looking for when I read the first one.
So what's your absolute favorite of the classic philosophy?
That's somebody asked me that the other day, and I'm still kind of lost on that because I got to thinking of stories the other day, like the Iliad and Odyssey and a few of the other ones that I read over the years. But what's his name? Not Aristotle, not Autocracies. What the hell is his name? It's in there. I read, somebody had given me a book about him to read, and I read it. I actually was reading somebody else at the time. I'm pretty sure I was reading Aristotle, actually, I think what I was reading at the time. And he gave me this book, and I read it, and it sounded like someone who had lived like in the 90s. It was really weird, but the way he presented the stories and the way he talked about what he thought the world should be, he sounded like somebody out of the freaking 90s. It was kind of weird. I'll have to look it up. I got it up there. I think it's which one is it? What's man to the world, the great us. That's not it. Where is that? That's Plato.
While you're looking for that, just a small anecdote. So at one point, I had caused to read some writing by the Roman senators from the early
Did you?
before the empire, the Roman Republic, and everything that they wrote sounded exactly like what an older person would write today. They were talking about how young people today are too lazy; they don't have the work ethic of our generation.
That doesn't even surprise me.
It is completely the same, and it just shows you that human beings have not changed in the last few thousand years. Where our technology is better, we know more stuff, we have better toys, but we're exactly the same.
We've done whole shows on mindset today and mindset from anywhere from 2 to 5,000 years ago. I said it's the same, guys. I'm like, I said technology's gotten much better. I said, but we're still the same. We still think the same way. We're still killing each other. We're still blowing shit up. I said, there's not all that much of change. It really, I'm kind of disappointed in the fact that I would think we would be brighter, smarter, and faster at this age in our life, but
our evolution is just not nearly as fast as our technological development, right?
yes, I agree. And right now, it's going to start doubling about every 4 or 5 years. We're going to start seeing a real serious increase in technology, and we got to catch up. I mean, and we got to think about the schools catching up. That's where it needs to start at. People need to know. I was lucky, when I was in the service, because I got to travel around the world. But when I was in the service, I took advanced courses in avionics and electronics, and then when I got out, I got a bachelor's in science. So it gave me a unique looking way of looking at the world. But most people today don't even want to do that kind of work. If they can figure out a way to create a life without even going to college, they will. Which
you're saying,
I don't want to pick on anybody because
the work ethic of the older generation.
They don't. And you know what though? And I hate to say this out loud, but when I was in my 20s, anybody listen, I was lazy as shit. I ain't gonna lie. It's just
so was I.
So it just seems to be a thing, with each generation. Because my grandpa always said how the generation after him was lazy, and then of course that generation said our generation was lazy, which was probably true. And it's just funny to me that it just seems like it just carries on. It's like some things as a species, as a terran species, we have just not been able to break. it's like we can't let go of it or something. We get to a point like we're trying to wake up, we're trying to be the right kind of people, and then we get to a point and we stop, or we just can't figure out how to make the next step, because it seems like everybody's answer today is blow something up.
Oh, it's so easy now.
Yeah, or yeah. What's that, Carolyn? What do you mean, who am I voting for? Watch Friday Night Show and you'll find out who I'm voting for. Yes, I'm voting for the alien to come down and take these two people off my planet is what I'm voting for. That's what I'm voting for if you want to know the truth. Oh, man. Y'all people scare me with these. Anyway, we're not going there. But so you heading anywhere this year? You're going to be out and about, getting in any trouble? I know we're getting late into the year now. We're getting kind of into fall.
My summer was really busy with travel. I've been to Scotland for Worldcon. I've been to
nice.
Georgia for Dragon Con, a few other conventions. But the season is winding down. I'm still going to be at. I'm going to be attending Camp Clave, which is in Washington D.C. next weekend. It is hands down my favorite science fiction convention that I go to every year. It's a very small convention. It's about 500 people or so on average. But it is absolutely fantastic. I fully endorse it, and I highly recommend it to anyone. So that's
next weekend. I'll be in Salt Lake City for FanX.
Oh, FanX, I heard really good things about as well.
Yeah, it's fun.
I sell more books than any convention.
I haven't been yet, but one day I'll make it. I'll make my way out there. And then in November, I'll be in London for a symposium, and then I'll be in Philadelphia, in the outskirts of Philadelphia for PhilCon, which is a smaller local convention for me, which is like an hour and a half from my house.
When are you going to be in London? Because I'll be in London. So I'm going to Frankfurt Book Fair at the end of October. Then on the way back, I'm going to go via London. So when are you going to be in London?
Middle of the month. So like
middle of November?
15th, yeah.
Okay, I'll be at the end of October. Okay,
yeah. So we're just going to miss each other. But hey, if you're in New York, or I might end up in your neck of the woods, because I have a TV show in development right now. So
wow.
If it progresses beyond the point where it is right now, I may end up having to go out there and visit. So
that'd be great. I'd love to walk you around here to some of the fun places that are still out here, and that'd be great. More power to you getting that TV show.
We're really early days. So the way that this works for the audience is when your show goes into development, that just means that a production company may throw in some money and some sweat equity to write the pilot, write the treatment, and then they will go out to all the networks and the streamers and try to get money to actually film the thing. So nothing is getting filmed. We're not at that stage yet. And I'll be very, very lucky if we ever get to that stage. But
I know, man. I've been involved in a couple of them. They're
but for me, it's a bucket list thing just to get to this point already. And that's a deal that was only signed this summer. So this is a relatively recent development.
Well, congratulations for that.
Thank you.
It's
a super story.
Man, it's I'll tell you what, anytime you get involved with the TVs, it's always interesting. We'll just say that.
But I leave it to the professionals. My job is to write the story that they can base it on, and then if they want any advice of mine, I'll be glad to give it, and then they can choose whether to take it or not, because I'm not very precious about it. I know a lot of people get very upset when their story gets changed, and I watch enough television shows. In fact, I'm kind of a television show junkie. So I completely understand that changes will happen, and I may like or not like some of them, and I'm perfectly okay with that, because as a translator, I understand when I translate a work, it becomes a slightly different work. And I think that anybody who is adapting for television, for movies, they have a much more difficult job than just a translator, and it's going to change to suit those formats.
Yeah, I mean, your book has got an unlimited budget, and when it goes to TV, it's got a very much limited budget.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff we're seeing today couldn't have been made 20 years ago because we did not have cheap CGI.
Yeah.
Where like now, Sci-Fi Network and like whoever like can just make these super high budget, like not high budget, but like high production value shows with aliens and landscapes and all that stuff, and it could not have happened 20 years ago because it would have been prohibitively expensive.
Yeah, with that 360-degree LED stuff, it makes a world of difference, because you don't have, which I learned, like the problem with green screen is they have to then go through afterwards and clean up all the reflection of the green on the actors and on the motorcycles or whatever the equipment is, because it reflects.
Yep. And I bet now it's all handled with large language models very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, and now they build these crazy sets that have basically holograms all over them that look real as hell. I was watching the one they did for Star Trek Discovery in Canada. That thing was amazing. I mean, it had everything you think of, and it was completely changeable by just going on the computer and changing it.
It was a hologram?
A lot of it was, not all of it. It was about 50% hologram, about 50% real, but it was a very interesting way of doing it. And then they showed a new science fiction movie that was coming out that pretty much that's what it is it's hologram generated. It's not even like we would think of special effects anymore. It's kind of strange. I watched a whole show on it just recently. It's definitely different. What bothers me about it is it should make making a movie much faster or a TV series much faster, but it seems like it's slowing down because I'm confused. When I was growing up, even till recent times, even with Star Trek, you got 25 episodes a year, 2 seasons, 25 episodes a year. You're lucky to see 10 episodes on any new series now. And then you got to wait 2 years to see 10 more. It kind of turns me off in watching them. It's got to the point where it's really irritating, especially in sci-fi. I'm like, oh my God, what do you? I mean, it's like Strange New Worlds and Star Trek. So it's going to end up being almost 2.5 years to see another 12 episodes.
Can I just be a contrarian for 1 second here?
Get in there, man. Get in there.
I think that the seasons getting down to 10, 12 episodes is a really good thing. Now, not the wait between the shows. I completely get not wanting to wait a year or 2 years for the next season. But the fact that the seasons are shorter is giving us tighter, better storytelling. Because think back to really good shows. I'm talking about Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, Stargate, shows like that. You had those 20-something episodes, and every 5 or 6 episodes, you had a dog, right? You had an episode that was just really boring, really bad. Every once in a while, it was just literally an episode of recaps where they were just replaying a bunch of like footage. And Stargate did that every single season. Every season of Stargate, up until I think maybe 7 or 8, there was an episode that was nothing but like reused footage from previous episodes with like maybe 5 minutes of original content. So they did that because they had this insane production values having to put up 20-something episodes in a season. And you basically, even in the amazing shows like Deep Space Nine, which I think is the best Trek, you by necessity had weak, boring, slow episodes that were not well written, maybe not even well acted, because they just did the breakneck production thing. So going down to a smaller number of episodes, it makes you go through the plot path.
I can do 12 a year.
And I can tell you too, from my humble opinion, being here on the author's Quill, I'm not really having an opportunity to watch TV because I read a book a week so I can have these episodes. So I had a wonderful time reading, like, for example, Kakistocracy, and getting ready for my episode. And I didn't have a problem with like a bum show or repeats or something like that. I was just able to get pure, raw, creative juices coming straight in the way I perceived it. And I get that every week. Life is wonderful having to read a book a week. So there.
Absolutely.
I'll be a contrarian to even the contrarian.
I am all for the books. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm trying to do both whenever possible. But yes, I will absolutely listen to an audiobook before I watch a TV show.
About the only time I ever watch TV or a movie literally is when I fly. There I'll do it. When I fly to Frankfurt, I'll get through, 4 or 5 movies just so I get it, because then when I'm sitting, I'm jamming to get through my book before my next interview. And because I hate talking to somebody if I just, quick, let's look at Amazon review. Let's look at Goodreads and see, what's the book? I was like, you just miss it. You don't, there's so much more stuff you can get out if you actually, on an interview, if you've actually read the book, say, now, when you said this here, like I said, I just loved the title itself. I did partway through it, we talked about various things in your book and how you named even the joke you made on your last name with one of the people in the book, making a snide comment about the name that nobody can spell. So the library, the New York Public Library, Shvartsman or something, was like, that was funny.
they named the New York Public Library. I guess somebody just donated a whole bunch of money, and at some point they named it after this guy, Jason Schwartzman. Now his name is spelled differently from mine, but it's just like my name. His name is really difficult to spell. And so I had the main character just comment on that and say, nobody in New York calls it that. We just call it like the main library or the one with the lions. Yeah. And who would be able to spell that name anyway?
Yeah. But it's like, I wouldn't be able to see that or think that if I hadn't read the book, and go through it and a lot of these little things like, wow. And I'll make these notes, and it makes it so much more of a fun interview, because the authors will invariably say, nobody's ever asked me this stuff. This is, and then when I say the hour's up, they say, that was the fastest interview I've ever done, because it doesn't drag, because I have so many questions.
It really does come down to like how prepared the interviewer is, because like as an author, I can't tell you how many times you go on the show and A, they haven't read the book. B, they'll ask you like where you get your ideas, and you're like, oh my God, that's the question I've heard 17 million times,
Yeah.
So I absolutely appreciate you guys, because you both like ask intelligent, good questions.
I just like to make authors crazy. That's what I'm here for. But it's no, really, it's because I will ask every now and then, what made you think you can be a writer? People don't like the way I phrase that question sometimes, because it's kind of, but it is true. I mean, what is it that made you think, hey, I can go out there and be a writer and entertain the world? I mean, that's got a little touch, a bit of ego in there. And I like to know people who they really are. So I always ask, some questions along those lines.
Yeah, almost as much ego think you can create a radio station and entertain people around the world.
I do, but I understand. That's what I'm saying. But my time to get reading in, unless it's an audiobook, is hard for me. So I'll get to a point, and I'll I'll usually let the guest know before we start the show. Hey, look, at some point I'm going to let you walk us through your book. But over the years, I've learned I can't always do that, because believe it or not, some authors just tell a whole book. I'm like, what are you doing? No, you can't do that. Nobody's going to buy the damn book. You can't do that.
Yeah. The hardest question you can ask any author is to summarize their book in just a couple of paragraphs. We can't, because we've spent so much time and effort and energy thinking about this world that compressing it down to an elevator pitch is super hard for us.
Oh, I can imagine.
Every writer, this is not just my personal experience. I talk to like all these other people, and they all tell me the same thing. The best thing you can do is, if you read your friend's book, summarize your friend's book, because you're not, even though it's a friend, you're not nearly as attached to it. So you can basically have your friend summarize it for you. You can steal that summary.
Because that's one of the things we do. That's one of the things we do for Rise of the Future for the winners. The last day I do how to promote yourself seminar, myself and my wife, and then Joe helped a couple of times. And one of the things we go over is how to do that elevate, how to do it, because they're awful. They come, like you said, they either tell the whole thing, or they have it from their perspective, what they think is the coolest part, and then what? I don't get it. It doesn't make me want to read it, because you don't want to give away the story, but it's got to be enticing enough. So we go through each person, all the winners, and we work out how to, they just go over it, and we drill it and drill it and drill it until they feel comfortable about doing it. Just a couple sentences. Jody Lee and I, our coordinating judge, helps to do that as well, and several other judges are there. How do you do that? Because it's a real problem.
It is.
That's why marketing people are really important, right? Because this is a skill. This is truly a skill, and somebody who is good at coming up with those back of the cover blurbs, their job is really important, because they can literally make a difference between the person in the bookstore looking at the back of that book and picking it up and buying it, or putting it back on the shelf.
That's right.
The cover will get their attention, but you still got to sell the book.
Yeah.
What's that, Ginger? Oh, no, that's right. I forgot, ladies and gentlemen. John and I are both up for, we're hoping we won, actually, People's Choice Awards. Both of us have a show up in there right now. News on the Flip Side is there. And as a matter of fact, I'll be sending in our acceptance thing in just a little while. John's Writers of the Future is there as well. Ron's Writers in 3 categories, right?
We got 3 categories. We got arts, storyteller, drama, and education. So I got 3 different categories for winning.
Jackie,
I already get 3 trophies, so I'm happy with that. I just want to get the big
Jackie, it's the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Yes, go check it out. We're all there. Go see what it is. Now, we've been there. I mean, him and I both have got runner up for like the last 5 years in a row. Yes. Well, we're not going to get started on that runner-up stuff, are we? No, we're not. You know how I am. I don't like to lose. Whatever. Runner-up is still losing. If it's not first place, it's losing, buddy. I'm just telling you now. Y'all should know. Anybody who's been listening to me a long time knows I don't like to lose. But I know we got to get out. So I actually want to tell him anywhere you can be, what's going on, how to find you.
Your website or how?
Oh, sure. So easiest place to start is my name. It's www.alexshvartsman.com. It has my bibliography, so you can see all of my books, all of my short stories, all of my translations, and everything else like that. Beyond that, I'll be again at Capclave and at PhilCon later this year, and I'll have the translated collection by Katerina coming out in 2025. The novel sometime, hopefully soon after that. And my job for the next few months will be just to really keep my head down to the ground and keep writing book 3, because at the end of the day, the most important thing that we owe to our readers is not to make them wait 20 years for the next book.
I agree with that.
That's the fact.
I agree with that. What is that, Christopher? No. I don't like when people write good books and then I don't see one for a decade. I'm like, wait, what? I done forgot who they were and moved on to somebody else.
Yeah. No, you upset your fans. You make your promise and then you don't deliver it. So that's not cool.
Who do you write for? You don't write for Doctor Who. Get the hell out of here. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of here with this new Doctor Who writer in the chat group with us. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be mean. I apologize. I'm not going to be mean. Alex, you were great having you on tonight. Had a lot of fun.
Great talking to you again, Alex.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. Good to see you both. And hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Well, now that I know your books in audio, I'll probably order both of them.
Just message me. I'll send you. Just send me an email.
Okay, I will. And what's that, Chris? No. But again, I want to thank you for coming on, and we had a great time. I know John's a bigger bookworm than I am, but if like I said, when it's in audio, I become a bookworm because I can listen.
Yeah.
And because like tonight, I'm gonna be sitting here later on a little while. I got to catch up some stuff for the station, so I'll just be sitting here banging away. So I'll just plug something in and just listen while I'm here. I might even finish.
And next week we're going to be talking from Salt Lake City, so you'll be at this desk, but I'll be in Salt Lake City. So we'll do another.
John will be up there in Salt Lake City. No good sucker him. Salt Lake's great, people. If you can go. It's different. I don't want to say it's different than Dragon Con or San Diego, but it is in a way that it's a different kind of crowd.
Yeah, very literate. I love them.
Yeah, they are a very literate crowd, and they're a very laid back crowd at the same time. But they're into buying their books, people. And so,
yeah, and if you come there, we're going to have Kevin Anderson, Rebecca Mesta, Larry Niven, and S.M. Sterling will be at our booth full time there. There are special guests there that the convention is bringing out, and they double up our space so we can invite these professionals there so people can come and get books signed by them.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
I gotta make it out there maybe next year. Like I gotta see. Hopefully, it will not be on the same weekend as Capclave at some point.
Yeah, because it's your favorite. So hopefully not.
Yeah, I can't betray Capclave for it. You know?
That's your baby. I understand that because I got my favorites too. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to United Public Radio on the author's Quill. Of course, like I end every show with, any moans, groans, bitches, or complaints, please address them to Michelle DeRoche, courtesy of the Outer Realm, and see what she tells you. Good night.